Two big wins in Cleveland this weekend. You know what that means? It's time for a Monsters Monday here on Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we can get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also have to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just go to FanDuel.com to get started. It's been a minute since we've taken a look at the Cleveland Monsters. They are in a bit of a slump right now. They just won the last two games, so two big wins over the Chicago Wolves this weekend. But apart from that, it's been a little bit of rough going for the Monsters. They are 4-2, 3-1 in their last 10. And they have slid all the way down to third in their division. Now, I will say that third in their division is still, like, good enough to be... where are they? Good enough to be seventh in the entire league, because the North Division is stupid. There's only 4 teams that have more points than the Monsters. Now, when you flip to point percentage, things change a little bit there, but they're still 11th in the league there. So, 3 of the top 10 teams in the AHL are top 10 in points percentage. And 3 of the top 10 teams in points percentage are in the North Division. And then Cleveland is just on the outside. Well, I say outside, quote unquote. They're sitting at 11th right now. So even with this, like, quote unquote, slump, that's, I think, my full quota of air quotes is allowed this episode, but they're doing okay. 2 wins to break a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Lehigh Valley, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and the Rochester Americans before 2, like I said, big wins over the Chicago Wolves. I do think that a little part of the up and down for them has been that, like, for the most part, unlike seasons past, let's say, the Monsters, for the most part, have been able to keep the same group together. Unlike, like, last season, for example, obviously there was injuries, there was call-ups, there was, guys were getting healthy scratched left, right, and center. Guys were getting called up to sit in the press box. Like, there was a lot of movement, there was a lot of injuries, and there was Cleveland injuries as well. Like, especially towards the end of the season when Adam Fantilli got shut down, Ken Johnson got shut down, Boone Jenner got shut down. Lots of injuries hitting the Blue Jackets right at the end of last season. But this season, while the Blue Jackets have had some injury trouble, less than previous seasons, I would say, they have, for the most part, been able to keep the group together and add from within, I would say. It helps that they've been carrying 8 defensemen most of the season and an extra forward as well. So, like, again, the fact that they've had some guys miss a couple of games here and there, like, for the most part, before the season started, Kent Johnson missed some time, Sean Monahan missed some time. Obviously, Sean Monahan missing some time is one of the bigger injuries and did result in quite a significant call-up. But, like, for the most part, the Monsters have had the same group all season long. Like, the Monsters have played, I think, 48 games so far this season. And, like, the only, the big names, Rocco Grimaldi's played in 44, Trey Fix Wolansky's played in 41, Owen Sillinger in 44, Stanislav Svozil in 42, Roman Ashan in 46, Hunter McCown 45, Justin Pearson 46. Like, all of the big names have been there for the bulk of the season. Couple of exceptions. Dylan Gambrell has only played 35 games. He has been up and down, also injured, I think. Denton Mateychuk has only played 27. I think he might be I think he might be ours for good. I don't think he's going to go back to Cleveland unless for playoff purposes, maybe. And then Luca Belluz has played in 37 of the 48 games. So again, with the Monahan injury, Belluz got called up. And I think he might be, again, depending on the timeline, depending on what happens at the deadline, etc. Like, he's looked really, really good for the Blue Jackets in his, dozen or so games that he's played this season. I still think he probably goes back down when Monahan's healthy, but he's looked really, really good in NHL minutes, which I think, again, he was leading the entire AHL in scoring when he was called up. He, again, has missed half a dozen games, 10 games, I think, give or take, for the Monsters, and he is still top 20 in AHL scoring. Like, again, 39 points in 37 games. When you flip to points per game and get rid of anyone that's played fewer than 25 games, let's say, there's only one player. Three. There are three players ahead of him. Four if you count Vinny Hinostroza, who played 26. So, he's a difference maker for this team, and also losing Denton Mateychuk probably, again, for the bulk of the season, again, depending on what happens with the Blue Jackets in the playoffs, the deadline, etc., etc. But like losing your best forward, your like leading point scorer, and then also your number one defenseman has probably contributed to the fact that since Mateychuk has been called up, which I think was like mid-January, I want to say, or no. When was, I don't remember when Jiricek was traded. That's on me, but I feel like Mateychuk was called up very soon after Jiricek was traded. So I could probably find out when his last. I have the technology. His last game was December 19th for the Monsters. So since then, December 19th, the Monsters have got a record of, let's see, the rest of that month they were 1-0-0-3, so 1 win, 3 regulation losses, and then they won 5 games in January and lost 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in January, and then so far in February they are 3-3, and there's some overtime losses in there as well, but like previous to that, they did have like an insane win streak where, what was it? I think it was 10 games in a row they won. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games in a row they won. They lost 1 game in all of November. And, I think Denton Mateychuk was a big part of that. Luca Belluz, big part of that. So, like, that's my guess anyway as to why things have been a little bit shaky for the Monsters, because while they have for the most part been able to keep that group together, they have they've lost some guys. They've lost some big guys as well, and Trey Fix Wolansky has missed a little bit of time due to injury. News came out earlier this week, yesterday maybe. Owen Sillinger is done for the season, which that's a big loss there. He had 29 points in 44 games, made his NHL debut this season. Again, big loss for this team. But there are guys that are going to have to step up. Again, if you're down Mateychuk for the rest of the season, Stanislav Svozil is going to have to step up. Guys like Demon Hunt are going to have to step up. It's next man up mentality, and we've seen that from the Blue Jackets all season, and we need to see it from the Monsters as well. So there's a little update for the Monsters. Like I said, they're on a 2-game win streak right now. They're still, again, 3rd in their division, the North Division. I talked about this a lot last season, and I talk about this a lot with Scott Matler, who used to host Locked On Canadians, and now mostly complains about the Laval Rocket full time. So good for him. But the North Division is stupid. 7th place in the North out of 8 teams has a .531 points percentage, which I believe is currently out of a playoff position. And then you turn to, for example, the Central Division. Here we go. a 531 points percentage would be 6th in the Atlantic Division. It would be 4th in the Central Division, and it would be 7th of 10 teams in the Pacific Division. So, like, again, I don't know. The North is stupid. They have one team below a 500. The Central Division has 3 teams below 500 out of 7. The Pacific Division has only 2 teams below 500. And then the Atlantic Division has 2 teams below 500, but one of those is the Bridgeport Islanders, who are who have a 296 point percentage right now. They have 12 wins all season, which is just brutal. Even the Utica Comets, who started like 0-13, have picked it up a little bit. But like, again, the North is such a strong league, and like there's really nothing in it between like 4th place and 1st place, and it was like that all of last season. It's probably going to be like this all the way to the run up to playoffs, and hopefully the Monsters can have some fun in the playoffs again, because last season's playoff run was a lot of fun. But let's take a quick break, and then I want to talk a little bit about some of the notable Blue Jackets prospects. We've touched on a couple of them there, but there's a couple that I want to talk about more, and then there's a couple that I want to go into a little bit more depth on. So we'll talk about those, guys, in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about Indeed. You just realized that your business needed to hire someone yesterday. Well, how can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidate faster. I have been unlucky enough to have to job hunt, not for a while, but, semi-recently, and it sucks. Job hunting sucks, but Indeed is the only website that I use when I am putting my my resume out there. I just think it's the best one, so I can only imagine that if you are hiring, it is also the best one to use, and you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. All you got to do is go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now, support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast, and get that $75 sponsored job credit. Terms and conditions do apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about a couple of notable prospects for the Blue Jackets that are playing in Cleveland at the minute that are doing really quite well. Again, Luca Belluz, I've talked about it at length in this episode. I wanted to touch on him a little bit more. Again, at the time of his call-up, he was leading the entire AHL in points. He's already set a career high in points. This is only his second season. He's only 21, I believe. He doesn't turn 22 until November, so he's still very, very young. But last season, his rookie season, he had 31 points in 58 games for the Monsters. This season, he's already at 39, again, in 37 games played. Has been, like I said, an absolute monster for this team. He's been back for 3 games since the Four Nations break. They sent him down, and they sent Mikhail Pucha down, who was a really good monster last season. He made the team out of the Blue Jackets out of training camp this year. So again, we'll touch on him in a second here. No points in his first 2 games back, but he had a goal and an assist last night against the Chicago Wolves in a 3-2 win. So safe to say, I think they're probably quite glad to have him back for the amount of time that they will have him back for. The Monsters, I believe, have a game on Wednesday. So they'll probably have him for that. And then after that, he probably belongs to the Blue Jackets again. They play the Rochester Americans on February 19th on Wednesday. And then their next game after that is February 23rd, which is after the NHL comes back. Blue Jackets have a game on February 22nd. So I would imagine Luca Belluz is only going to be there for one more game, and then we will be whisking him away again back to the NHL. Sean Monahan probably out for at least another month, hopefully 2 to 3 weeks, but it could be longer. But like, he's been a rock star for this team. Like, in his 39 games, I think he's only had about 12, 13 of those games where he's gone without a point. He has 77 shots in those 37 games. So he's averaging over 2 shots a game, which is, again, like, some games he only gets 1 shot. Some games like this October 26th, he has 7 shots on goal, which, is it's a normal amount of shots on goal. Don't worry about it. But like I said, he was a big driving force in the success of this team, and I'm sure they're glad to have him back right now, and I'm sure they'll be glad to get him back when Monahan returns, and if they decide to keep him, well, he's probably going to be back for, again, the playoffs. Like, I can imagine the Monsters loading up at playoffs. They get Luca Belluz back, they get Mikhail Pucha back, they get Denton Mateychuk back. Hopefully they have fully healthy guys like Trey Fix Wolansky, who's missed a handful of games with injury, but I believe has been back for a couple of weeks now. Currently second on the team in scoring. He played the 11th. He did miss a handful of games, but I don't remember where they were, and I can't read the AHL. But he's been back for a while. He's on a 3-game point streak right now, 4 points, including 3 goals in 3 games. He didn't play Saturday's game against the Wolves, but he did play last night against the Wolves as well. And again, a goal and an assist, I believe, including the game winner. And hasn't seen the NHL yet this season, I don't believe. I might be wrong about that, but I still think there's something there with Fix Wolansky. I know that that's an unpopular opinion. I know that most people are over the Fix Wolansky experience, but I still think there's something there, and I'd be really interested to see how he does under Everson's systems, because we've seen players that were ineffective, let's say, in Brad Larsen's systems, in Pascal Vincent's systems, flourish under Dean Everson. So I personally would be interested in giving Trey Fix Wolansky at least one more look. I know he's a RFA at the end of this season, so this might be his last chance with the Monsters and with the Blue Jackets, but I like to think that they'll keep him around. But again, having him healthy will be a big plus for the Monsters. Another guy I want to talk about, Gavin Brindley. He's got 14 points in 30 games in his rookie season so far. Is only 20 years old. Missed a bunch of the start of the season. His first game was November 23rd, and then I believe he's played basically every game since then. Again, kind of up and down. Started really strong, 5 points in his first 3 games, and has kind of petered out since then. Hasn't scored a goal or recorded a point since January 21st, so that's 7 games without a point. But rookie season, plenty of time to figure it out. Again, I'm really excited to see Brindley and how he develops. He's a smaller guy, but I think he's gonna figure it out. I have faith in Gavin Brindley. Someone else I want to talk about, Jordan Dumais, who also the start to his season was delayed due to injury. He's only played 6 games so far. His first game and his season debut and his pro debut was January 31st. Had an assist in that game, played the next day, had a goal, and has then he's got 4 points in 6 games so far. Again, there's something there, 6 games is a very small sample size, so I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, this guy's definitely going to be an NHL player. But, the numbers are there. He led the QMJHL in scoring a couple of seasons ago, was 3rd in QMJHL scoring like the season before that. Like, last season was kind of a slow one. He was injured and then suspended and then injured again, I believe. But again, I still think there's something there. There's promise there. And 4 points in 6 games. Again, only 20 years old. Is about to turn 21. All the potential in the world. Like, another small guy. I know how people feel about the Blue Jackets that keep drafting these small skill guys, but again, I maintain that I think that there might be something there with Dumais. He's one of my sleeper picks for the Blue Jackets. I don't know that he's going to be like a star, but if you can get like a middle 6 player out of him in a couple of seasons, like it's a big plus for me. Anyway, one last guy I want to talk about is Stanislav Svozil, who I have been really high on since the Blue Jackets drafted him. I think he fell in the draft. I don't know why, but he did. Was drafted 69th overall in 2021. This is technically his third season with the Monsters, but he only played one game in the 22-23 season. Last season, 57 games, 23 points in those 57 games. That was his rookie season. This year, 24 points in 42 games. And again, has really had to step up since they lost Mateychuk to the NHL. Again, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points in those 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, in those 19 games. So again, stepping up. The AHL doesn't give us ice time numbers, which is frustrating, but my guess is that Stanislav Svozil is logging a ton of minutes for the Monsters right now, and I don't know. Again, I like his game a lot. I think it's really smart. I think he definitely has potential there. I think he's been pushed down the depth rankings by, guys like Mateychuk coming in. But with the potential, departure of guys like Provorov, with the potential departure of, Jack Johnson probably isn't going to be here next season. I'll be surprised if Jordan Harris is here next season. Eric Branson is here for one more season and then his contract is up. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but there are going to be holes in the roster, and Stanislav Svozil, I think, has a really good shot of being a very serviceable depth defenseman for the Blue Jackets, a la kind of the Jake Christensen role. So he's someone that I really want to keep an eye on. And again, everydayers, longtime listeners, you guys know I've been high on Svozil for a while now, and hopefully he continues to show potential, because again, I think he's got all the potential in the world. We're going to take another quick break, and then I want to talk goalies, because we can't possibly have a Monsters Monday without checking in on my guy, Jet Greaves. That's coming up in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the games, even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback. You can stay in the action, and if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love the live betting feature. It keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally, picking a play to hit a clutch 3. I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. You don't have to sit around waiting for that money to hit your account. You've got it immediately. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Just a quick one. We're going to check in with my guy, Jet Greaves, who is continuing to be continues to be the house that Jet built. I believe earlier this week or last week, he became the all-time wins leader for the Cleveland Monsters, and I believe he is the all-time minutes played and saves made as well. So, which he's got 147 AHL games under his belt. It might just be that, AHL records are weird. Sometimes you get a guy that's played 4 seasons, and you're like, yeah, he's played more games in this organization than anyone else, because that's the nature of the AHL, right? Trey Fix Wolansky has basically all of the records for the Monsters, and I think he's played 6 seasons, if that. So, grain of salt, but Jet Greaves is Mr. Monster in net. Again, having an excellent season. He's got a 910 save percentage, is 14, 8, 5, and 2. He's got an assist, which is important. And he continues to be the guy for these games. His most recent start, he had a 970 save percentage in a win against Cleveland, 1 goal allowed on 33 shots. He is, in terms of all goalies, I don't know why the AHL website loves to sort by save percentage, but they do. Jet Greaves is currently 10th, or tied for 9th, tied for 8th in save percentage around the whole league. He is currently tied for, I think, 4th or fifth in wins around the league, and in terms of minutes, is fifth around the league in minutes. So he plays a lot and he does well in those minutes, which again, you really, really love to see. I still think that there's some AHL time in him. I know that, we've talked a lot about is Jet Greaves ready for the NHL, and he's been excellent in his NHL games thus far for the most part. I'm just going to pull up his NHL stats real quick. He when he's been called upon, he has been good. In 15 NHL games so far, he is 5-8-2, but he has a 910 save percentage and a goals against average of 3.29, which would be the best among, I think, any current Blue Jackets goalie. So far this season, he's played in 5 games, is 2-1-2, has a 906 save percentage, a 2.98 goals against average, and again, just continues to shine for this team. He has been, when he's called upon, really, really very good this season. Most recently, he was excellent in a win in St. Louis, a 969 save percentage, 1 goal allowed on 32 shots. I still think that there's some AHL time in him there, I know that people are eager to move on from Elvis, to move on from Tarasov, to have Jet Greaves be the number 1 guy in Columbus. He's still very young. He's only 23. He turns 24 at the end of March. For a goalie, that's basically a toddler, Don't rush him. Let him go at his own time. If you can get one more AHL season out of Jet Greaves, where, again, he benefits from playing a bajillion minutes, gets all of the game time instead of sitting on the bench for, 70% of the season. And then, I think you could potentially, I don't think you're going to get Dustin Wolf numbers with him, but one more year of AHL seasoning, and I think you really might have quite a good goalie on your hands. He's been the MVP for the Monsters for a lot of his time in the Monsters. Again, he's all-time leading minutes played, saves made, and I believe just straight up wins for this team. But beyond that, he gives them a chance to win every night, and when you talk to him, you're like, yeah, you want this guy to succeed. And I know that, that probably falls under intangibles, and you can't build a hockey team based on guys that are nice, but you want this guy to succeed, and I think we've seen goalies get rushed to the NHL before. I wonder if potentially Elvis Merzlikins was one of those guys, but that is a conversation for another day. Give Jet Greaves 1 more year in the AHL, at least the rest of this year. Reevaluate in the summer. I know that Dean Everson loves him. I know that the team loves having him around. Again, you want someone who's just really excited to be there and is going to give it his all, because it's still new and shiny for him. He knows that it might be his last. It might be his last time in the NHL, so he's going to play like it is his last time in the NHL. But there's just what else can I say about Jet Greaves? Dude's a gamer. Dude is lifting the entire team on his back, probably 2 out of every 3 games. His backup, Zachary Sawchenko, has been fine. 9-5-3 on the season, has an 895 save percentage. I don't know if the average save percentage in the AHL is higher or lower than in the NHL, but I know in the NHL average save percentage right now is about 895. So he's sitting right on average, which is honestly better than some years. But it's still very much Jet Greaves' net. He's played 29 games so far. Zach Sawchenko has played 18. And then I believe Pavel Chayan has played. Pavel Chayan has played a couple of games and been quite good in them as well. 936 over his two games. And then Daniil Tarasov, obviously he had those 2 conditioning games. But again, it's Jet Greaves' net. It's going to continue to be Jet Greaves' net. And hopefully he continues to be the guy that they need him to be, because I do think, the Monsters don't live and die by their goaltending the way that some teams do, but they do, I think, need Greaves to be better than average. Luckily, he is better than average. So hopefully he can continue doing that. That's kind of what I've got for today. That was your Monsters check-in. Like I said, the Monsters play next on Wednesday. The Rochester Americans are in town, or the Monsters are in town for the Rochester Americans, I should say, because it's an away game. But hey, if you have the ability, watch the game, support the Monsters. They're a ton of fun this season, and there's still no NHL hockey until Saturday. So you might as well, Four Nations is going to keep happening, but you might as well enjoy the Monsters while they are the biggest thing in Ohio hockey right now. So that's all from me. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Tomorrow, we're going to do a little bit more trade deadline talk. I got a really great email from a listener that I want to dig into a little bit more about some of the names that are potentially available and what the Blue Jackets should do. And we'll also check in with the Four Nations, because Zach Werenski continues to be Zach Werenski there, and that's real fun. So that's all coming up in tomorrow's episode. Thank you again for listening to this episode, and until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.